everybody. Just try that again. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
There we go, that's much better. I just need to check whether you can hear me at the back, because I'm acutely aware that I'm very softly spoken. So can you hear me at the back? Right, so that's me, David Ogilvie, from the Resilience Development Company, as Jess eloquently introduced me. Can I have a little whoop if you've heard of the Resilience Development Company? Just give me a little whoop. Yeah, thanks, Mom. It's nice to know that Mom's in the audience. Right. We always ask that question, right? Because we're a local company. We're a local company that helps people think about and change the way that they think, act, and engage with change. And the way that we do that is we show them how the brain can either help or hinder performance, results, and well-being. What might surprise you is we are nearly 4 years old. Nearly 4 years old. And if you haven't heard of us, you might want to talk to the people that just wouldn't. So, let me give you a little bit about me, why I'm here today. The first thing you should know about me is my background. I spent 22 years in HBOS and then Lloyds as a director. So I know a little bit about change. And I know a little bit about pressure and stress. But I'm not the only one in our company. We have an ex-soldier, an elite military soldier, John. He's just sat over there if you want to grab him at any point. I work with my wife, believe it or not, whose background is counselling and psychology. And then the fourth person, background in training. Right? So I know quite a bit about kind of organisational culture. Right? You can see it in the stuff that's after my name. Worked on international boards, run big teams of up to 150 people. But that's not really why I'm here. I'm here for a really special reason. Is whilst I was doing all that, everything changed for me in an instant. Because my wife's mental health deteriorated. So this subject is very, very close to my heart. What I'm going to do today, using you to help me, is I'm going to cover three things about resilience. What it is, what it's not, and why it matters. So let me start with this, what it is. I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer from the audience, right? I'm not going to physically hurt you. You need to come up with me, right? And all you've got to be able to do is well, let me put it in HR speak. The ability to guess the weight of something is desirable, but not essential. Do I have a volunteer? Come on. Thank you. Come and join me here, right? Come and join me. Sure, Liz, let's just give her a little round of applause. Thank you for volunteering. How much do you reckon that weighs, Liz? Kilo, right. So where's about a kilo? Right, I'm rubbish at guessing words. So I've got to go with a kilo, right? I'm really just going to explain what resilience is using this and Liz. So in organisations, right, we have to deliver stuff, don't we? We have to deliver tasks. We have to get things done. And what do we do to deliver those tasks is we get trained, right? So I'm going to give you a task, Liz. The task is you've got to hold that out like that. And that's the sum total of the training that I'm going to give you. How much did you reckon it was?
More than a kilo.
So is it getting heavier?
Yeah.
Right, so can we agree it's not how you carry it's not what you carry, it's how you carry it that matters.
Yeah.
Right, so let me start to define resilience using you and that water bottle. You've probably noticed I've started to slow down deliberately, Liz. Because I know that lactic acid is building up in your arm, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's getting harder to do, isn't it? It's starting to weigh a lot more. So let me introduce the first part of resilience. What is it? Physical resilience. Do you want to just bring your arm across and support yourself like that? Physical resilience, right? You've just seen it in action. We all know about physical resilience. How much sleep should you get? 8 hours? Yeah, how much veg should you eat? How often should you go to the gym? Yeah, it's getting heavier, isn't it? I know it's getting heavier, right? Because that helps me explain what's coming next, right? You've got to focus on that task. What you're going to need is you need mental resilience, Liz. You're going to be able to, you've got to be able to focus on it. And if I really, really slow down, right, what else you're going to need is emotional resilience. Because it's going to start to get stressful. Yeah. And you're going to start to lose the ability to focus, aren't you? Yeah. So you've got physical, mental, emotional. And the final element of resilience is this, social resilience. Thank you. Thanks for volunteering. Quick round of applause. That's how we define it. There are many definitions out there, but what makes it interesting is if you define it like that physical, mental and emotional and social strength, it leads you to somewhere very different, right? It leads you to this. It leads you to our programme. It's skills-based, right? We teach people 55 skills, actual skills to develop that physical, mental, emotional and social resilience. Because it's skills-based, it's habitual. Resilience is a habit, right? It's not some strange concept out there. It's not a theory, it's a habit. And that's the trick. And the stuff that we do it's evidence-based. And I don't just mean that evidence-based, theory-based. I mean evidence-based, it works. It works for people, and people tell us it works. And because it's all of that stuff, resilience is measurable. We measure things like resilience before and after. We measure engagement. We measure anxiety. It's measurable because it's skills-based. So that's what we think resilience is. Let's quickly talk about what resilience is not. Does anybody know what that is? Does anybody know? If you do, you will amaze me. Right? I'll give you a clue. What do you think it is? Yeah, who said that? Bounce ratio. Yeah, it's bouncing ball theory. I couldn't find a picture of a bouncing ball. That was the closest that I could come to. It's bouncing ball theory. A lot of people think resilience is bouncing back. We don't think it's bouncing back. We think that belongs in therapy. We think it's about bouncing forward. Who wants to bounce back? Bounce back to what? It's already changed. It's already changed. Here's the interesting thing about bouncing back. Sometimes you can bounce back just like that. Other times, you can bounce back much higher. But here's why resilience isn't just about bouncing back. This is bouncing ball theory in action. That's what happens. That's why it's not just about bouncing back. It's not a magic remedy to keep pushing and squeezing more out of people. It's not just about bouncing back. Which means it's not just about a half-day workshop. When we're working with people, it takes 9 weeks. 9 weeks. Apologies to anybody in the room if you offer a half-day workshop on resilience. Maybe we could chat later on. You could show me how you do that, because we don't know how you do that. Because really, resilience is about thinking. It's about habits. If you want to change people's thinking, you have to give them time to do it. What makes it really interesting is, if you change people's thinking, you change behaviour. And that's what makes it sustainable. That's what makes it sustainable. The other thing it's not is going until you drop. It's not that. It's not about pushing and pushing and pushing, because sometimes resilience is just about stopping. It's about stopping and taking stock, because resilience is individual as well as situational, and sometimes it's about looking outwards and saying, do you know what, I'm stopping because everything else around me is coming at a cost. It's really not working for me. So, resilience, for us, it's physical, mental, emotional, and social strength, and it's skills-based. What it's not is about bouncing back, half-day workshops, or going until you drop. So why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'll share a few things with you. Pretty much guessing around here, we're all leaders or HR. So imagine that word, engagement. Engagement. It's kind of the holy grail, isn't it? It's all about productivity. Get engaged people, your productivity goes up. We know that resilience and engagement are two sides of the same coin. Just think about that for a moment. Think about being engaged. Hopefully you're all engaged with me now. It means physically you're feeling pretty good, you're with me. Right? You are emotionally involved. You're mentally focused on me and what I'm saying. And socially, they're probably nice people to be around. Right? You're engaged. What about when you're in a situation where you need to engage? Where you really, really need to engage? Because life's not always great, is it? That's when you have to think about it. That's why engagement and resilience, same side, two different sides of the same coin. You're not taught how to engage at school. Neither are you taught how to engage when times are tough. It's the same thing. We all know the cost of no engagement. If it's presenteeism, it's 34% of the annual salary. If it's burnout, then it's 50 to 250% of that person's annual salary. That's the cost of no engagement. But it matters for some other reasons as well. It matters because organisationally, they should be words that you are painfully aware of. Right, we've worked in all sorts of organisations: fire, ambulance, banks, nurses, NHS. Everybody recognises those words. Constraints, major change, leaner, more with less. It isn't going to change. It isn't going to change. It's going to stay the same. It's why resilience matters, because what do organisations do to address that? They come up with plans. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good plan. Think about my background. I love a good plan with nice PowerPoints and shiny figures. Right? I love a good plan. We have a well-being plan. We have a mental health first aid plan. We have an engagement plan. But plans are just intention. They're nothing more. You know and I know that culture is where it's at. Culture is habit. And I don't really like the word culture. People call it the C word. I call it the C word. I don't like it because people hide behind it. We can't do that. We can't change that. This is our culture. You can't change it. Because what is culture? It's not foreign. It's us. It's the people. The people are full of habits, beliefs, and behaviours. And if you can change habits, beliefs, and behaviours, you can start to build a culture. And culture either drives or drains people's energy for change. That's what really drives it, and that's what resilience is about. It's about energy for change. So I'm going to push this over to you, right? What I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the person that you sat next to. Just a quick hello. Just quickly introduce yourself. Right, great, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here's what I'd like you to do next. With the people that you just, or the person that you just said hello to and introduced yourself, is I'd like to have a very, very quick discussion. A very quick discussion around, in your organisation, what are the things that drain energy for change? What are the things that drain energy for change? You can either have a discussion at the table or just in pairs. It's going to be a very, very quick discussion. You don't have to mention where you're from, and you can have a very general conversation, but what are the things around organisations that drain energy for change? I'm just going to give you a few minutes to have a very quick conversation. Go for it. I could ask you to stop, right? Now let me ask you to have another conversation. Things that drive energy for change in your organisation. The same conversation with the same people, but this time it's things that drive energy for change. See where you get to. Okay, if I could just ask you to stop. And then let me ask you this question. Which one was the easiest conversation to have? Right, there you go. That is it in a nutshell, right? That is the narrative we have to change in our organisation. That's the narrative we have to change. It should be a lot easier to talk about the second one than it is the first one. That's why resilience and everything else you see today, that's why it matters, for that simple reason. That's the narrative we have to change. But it doesn't stop there. There are a few other reasons why. There are a few other reasons why resilience matters. And start to get a little bit more personal, right? So that's quite a personal picture to me, because in my 20s, that was seminal, right, for me. Anybody recognise that? Yep, great. Yep, it kind of gives you a flavour for how old I am, right? But that was seminal for me. And if you really observe it, you'll see I've got amazing PowerPoint skills. I managed to. Right? So, the reason I'm showing you that is it allows me to ask you a question. I think it poses a great thing that you've got a baby swimming after money, but it allows me to ask you a question. If I take a baby under 9 months and I just throw it in the swimming pool, can it swim? What I'd like you to do is, if you think yes, just stamp your feet. We'll get a feel for the room. Just stamp your feet. So some of you, right? Some of you. Okay, it's a myth. Right, it's a myth. Let me explain why. If you take a baby under 9 months old and you throw it in the water, there are a couple of things that will happen, right? A couple of reactions. One, it goes. You can do the same thing by blowing it in its face. If you've got a little baby under 9 months, give it a go, right? And then the other thing is the survival instinct kicks in. But think about it. A baby under 9 months does not have neck control. There's no way that baby can swim. What you're observing there is a sinking baby. Just looks like it's swimming. That's why resilience matters. You can have mental health strategies, tick. You can have well-being strategies, tick. You can educate your managers in mental health, tick. You can do engagement surveys, tick. And everybody can look like they're swimming. Some of them will be sinking. That's why resilience matters. We measure resilience before and after. What amazes all of us is just how low people's levels of resilience are, even at very senior levels. But that picture also allows me to show you that picture. Because that's why resilience matters. Is we don't just exist in a vacuum by ourselves, do we? It's not just us. There's all sorts going on around us. Gone are the days where work was work and home was home. It blends and it merges and you take it home. And if you don't know how to be resilient at work, that's going to have a knock-on effect and a cost at home. And if you're living with the cost at home, you're going to bring that back into work. It's why it all matters. It all absolutely matters. But here's the final, most personal reason. Because we're all different, right? We all think differently, yet everybody thinks that everybody else thinks the same way as us. You've probably all done things like Myers-Briggs profiling that looks at different preferences and perspective. We call that stance. We call that stance. And here's the interesting thing about stance is everybody is different, including how we navigate change. So if I had a table here that was imaginary and on there I had some raw ingredients, chicken, basil, olive oil, cheese. Try to think of all the other stuff I like eating, but you get the picture, right? And I asked Alessio to make a meal for me, right? He's Italian. And I took the same ingredient and I made him a meal from the same raw ingredients. I'm from Yorkshire. I think those meals are going to come back exactly the same. So why is it we communicate in one way? Why is it we put out all that great communication in organisations and expect everybody to receive it in the same way? Let's just take a very quick history walk there. A very quick history walk of why resilience matters. It's because it's part of the engagement and change management puzzle. It's part of the productivity puzzle. It matters because that is the organisational context that we all work in, and it isn't going to change. It matters because it's really about culture, and culture is about habit, and it's culture that either drains or drives people's energy for change. But it really matters because that's the narrative that we have to change. That's before you even get down to the personal level. Before you even get down to the personal level where people look like they're swimming, but they're sinking. Before they even walk out of the door and go home and come back into work and start. That's why resilience matters. So hopefully now you've had a quick definition of what resilience is, what it's not, why it matters. What I'm going to do very quickly now is just take you on a little tour. I'm going to take you on a little tour of your own thinking, really. Your own thinking. So, Pressure versus stress. Jess mentioned it. It's the first skill we show to everybody that we train. There is a difference, right? There is a difference. Pressure are demands on us in our external environment. Stress is something quite different. Stress is internal. And we all need a little bit of stress. It helps us perform. What happens is, if we get stress, a little bit of stress, that pressure kicks in, our body releases cortisol through our adrenal glands, right? And it gets us ready to perform. But pressure doesn't have to turn into stress. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean this. So I forgot what I was going to say next, right? And I'm getting really hot. I can feel it. I can feel my heartbeat. It's getting faster. And I'm anticipating something. Something's going to happen. What am I describing? Anxiety. I'm describing excitement. It's the same body reaction. It's just how you interpret it. At its simplest is, imagine kids knowing that. Imagine kids knowing, turning up for exams, knowing that what's going on in the body and that what they feel. It's not stress, it's excitement. It's just how you interpret it and how you experience the world. It's very, very different to how I experience the world. Right? Well, let me show you kind of how. Because although we're different, right, we all have this in common. We've all got this thing called the amygdala at the back of the head. You've probably heard of this, right? It's the amygdala. Think of it like a danger radar. It's constantly looking for danger. And if it goes off, that's when that stress response kicks in. But here's the really interesting bit. We all have a negativity bias. In other words, we are wired for risk. We're wired to notice the negative. It's the negative that gets our attention. And all science disagrees, right? Some people say it's 3 to 1, others say it's 7 to 1, but all science agrees we've all got it. We've all got it. In other words, let me make it really simple for you. You're 7 times more likely to notice the bad things and the negative things going on around you rather than the positive things. Right? Let me just give you a physical demonstration of it. What's your name, sorry? Robin. Right? So I've just moved closer to Robin. Right? Pretty much going to guarantee that she's not thinking towards the reward side of things and thinking, what's he going to do? This is going to be nice. She's probably thinking, what is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? So we all perceive the world very differently. It's very easy for pressure to flick into stress. We've all got this negativity bias, and we're wired for risk. Let me ask you another question. When you look at that picture, what do you see? What do you notice? Shout it out quickly. Sorry? White teeth. You said white teeth. Yeah, that's what people notice, right? White teeth, and she's going to give you a piece of her mind. Right? It's called fast thinking. It's that autopilot stuff that we do automatically, right? Science says we spend about 70% of our time on autopilot. It's like, what's 2 plus 2? There you go. Yeah, it's 4. You know it, right? So, fast thinking, it's autopilot stuff. We all do it. We all do it. But what about this? Any mathematicians?